Hello. I wish I wasn't making this video. I'm so frustrated. Um, I'm so tired of everything almost. I mean, in terms of the hope I once had for intelligent people, for leadership, for academics. Intellectuals, sense makers, comedians, artists, politicians. It's just like one by one, I lose faith in any of them. And it's frustrating. It makes me feel crazy, like I'm insane. So the latest to irk me is Jamie Wheal, who I love. I'm sure he's a good person and seems to have a beautiful spirit and all that, but I have to take the piss out of consultants sometimes because I know what that business entails. You have these bright people who really have a good grasp of the way things work on a human level and structural, systemic, philosophic, spiritual, whatever. Let's say that they have a fairly good grasp of how things are. And that's great. So they're wise, or wiser. So they're guru-esque. And they don't fall into the totally psychopathic or sociopathic, narcissistic, dark triad boxes. So nice to have you in the world. I read a lot of books, and it's always nice to have these authors writing stuff that I can read and learn from. And I like stories, fictional stories, where I can fill in the blanks and really participate with the mind of the author in how I interpret and experience the story. It's all good. But these days, you watch the comedians and you have political commentators like Jimmy Dore or wildly successful podcasters like Joe Rogan, who are all comedians. They're all funny. You see the irony and the absurdity and the humor and everything. Thank God for a sense of humor, right? And that's just wonderful, right? But they're also experts on vaccines, and they interview total idiots for hours and hours just because it'll get people's attention and they'll make loads and loads of money. So Jamie Wheal, he's a consultant, Flow Genome Project and all that. And I've read his books and I read his Substack. And I often get some valuable insights and sometimes something even new that I haven't thought of or read about before. And that'll lead me to another micro line of inquiry for a second that's interesting to me. His background is consulting for SAS and special forces, I call special farces, and CEOs and big businesses and all that. But he sees through it all. He wants to optimize people's psychology and flow states and all that kind of stuff. It's all pretty cool, right? And obviously getting paid top dollar maybe for it. I don't know. I really don't know his financial situation or what he charges, and I don't care. I could care less. So recently, this morning I was watching Stephen Colbert, and it was bugging me because, all of this is so funny. Everybody's so excited that Biden's up 2% against Trump because Trump is a vicious fascist lunatic. He loves Kim Jong-un or whatever. And obviously people who are excited about that are the kind of Democrats that don't think too carefully about stuff. Because if you read about the Hunter Biden, Joe Biden corruption, and just how far back it goes with Joe, these people that we elect to lead us in this sham democracy are not the best people, but they're not supposed to be. They're supposed to contribute to sustaining business as usual. So this isn't a conspiracy thing. So in the beginning of this Jamie Wheal article, he talks about all the ways we can look into things in a conspiratorial way, and he talks about obligate adaptation, which is interesting. So, it's either Monsanto or whatever. And in this paragraph, he says, we've been given all sorts of names, from the Tibetan notion of hungry ghosts, all mouths and no stomachs, forever consuming everything without ever being satisfied, to the Native American spirit of Wetiko, a similarly greedy, all-consuming dark force, to the higher concept, notions of egregores, entities that we conjure into being, that take on a life of their own, to Moloch, the dark and devouring force behind capitalism and all else, to actual personifications like the New World Order or the Illuminati, or we could just say the rules-based order too, or whatever. There's all kinds of things like this. Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. So Joe's funny because he's in cognitive decline and he's a corrupt, possibly criminal president. And Trump's funny because he's an idiot and a corrupt, criminal, potential second-term president. And climate change is funny. We can make all kinds of jokes about the heat waves and monkeys falling out of trees. And ocean acidification is funny. It's all so funny. It's hilarious. We can find humor in it. We can laugh and we can celebrate. Our side had a small little win. So anyway, I just think, at some point it's not funny anymore. But whether you're Jamie Wheal or an entertainer or an elected official or a CEO or whatever, you're working for business as usual, and you're not going to do anything to organize opposition to business as usual, or find a better way that you're going to work in community with others to implement, to found, to create. We're not going to do that. We're going to have the conversation. We're going to go on podcasts and talk to people about what we do in our wonderful consulting business and how great our grasp of reality is. And we're going to tell the plebs and proles that. They're going to say, aren't you, it's kind of virtue signaling that I read Jamie Wheal, because I'm so wise too, I can't compete with these kinds of people. They're really important in their little Western weird world of American niche consulting. They don't work for the big boys, but they have good niche businesses that are quite popular in a niche audience, to a niche audience. And of course, we, decade after decade, book after book that these people publish, we head in one direction, which seems to signal that business as usual isn't working, and seems to indicate that we might want to come up with something better, something different. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but it could be incrementally better to the point where it gives us more time to continue to become incrementally better. So he says, Jamie Wheal, can we wisely and benevolently stop the mad rush to artificial general intelligence that many of its architects think may well end terribly for us, but keep going full steam. So at least they might call the shots if they get there first. And I'm gonna put another article up that I looked into about that. And of course, multipolar traps, the Schmachtenberg thing that he often talks about. It's not his he didn't come up with it, but it's, in this community, we understand what that means. Digital narcissism, screens for teens. Or are we doomed to lurch over the cliff right in front of us because no one thought to install an emergency brake on the train of progress? And of course, he's talking about obligate adaptation. So there's never a break. Read Richard Dawkins' books. This evolution happens incrementally, bit by bit, over long periods of time. And cultural evolution is a little bit different, and technological evolution is a lot different. So it seems to accelerate in those realms, but still, culturally speaking and psychologically speaking and anthropologically speaking and blah, 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 we're just human beings. And we have a hard time dealing with complexity. It's very hard for us to get our heads around a lot of things. And so we have all these logical fallacies and cognitive biases and whatnot. So he asks, what can be done? Can we tap the brakes? I don't know. He says, I'll admit, if you survey the historical record, it looks pretty bleak. Time and time again, from indigenous tribes trying to resist colonialism, to traditional cultures trying to resist globalism, to families trying to resist digital distractions, to silicon and nuclear arms races, it feels like if we can imagine it, we are somehow also powerless to stop it. So capitalist realism, it's easier to imagine the end of the world than the end of capitalism, whatever. And who really talks about this? And if I talk to most of my friends about something like this, I'm not going to have friends anymore. They're going to think I'm trying to be a smart ass, and it's going to tax their time and energy, thought energy and all that, and it's going to, take the air out of the good times. So so he goes, except for one thing, the ultimate obligate adaptation of all. Well, yeah, I mean, when the shit hits the fan, the shit hits you in the face, and then you panic or deal with it or clean yourself up and go on. So not really much to say there, actually. If we can't figure out how to stop it, how to unite around a higher cause, we will all snuff it sooner or later. Benjamin Franklin framed this nicely at the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Gentlemen, one thing I know, we must all hang together, or most assuredly we shall hang separately. So most of us in the States are familiar with that if we went to history class in middle school. Collective destruction or salvation, just as true today. So again, it's like the enemy of my enemy is my friend. He quotes Muhammad there. We will need to bury our respective hatchets and grudgingly agree to work together against the pressing threats to civilization and even the survival of our species. This does not and should not require universal consensus, nor can it wait for it. We only need to find the broadest expanse of our shared concerns, meet there in mutuality, and get to work. At this point, it's not even optional. It's our obligation. And that's sweet. And, having the conversation on podcasts can be helpful to a certain degree. Writing some books can be helpful. Consulting the Navy SEALs and flow states and leadership can be helpful, I guess. But it all boils down to business as usual and attention seeking and kind of narcissistic behavior and basically the bottom line, which is just I want my career to go well so I can live a cool life. I'm not accusing Jamie of being that shallow. He's obviously not. But most of us are in a certain way. And, everybody's deep in some way and shallow in some ways. But who's committed to actually quitting consulting the business as usual community? Not that it's a conspiracy, that it's all the corporations or all the nation states or all the Zionists. In the beginning of his article, he goes through that, and I have too many bones to pick with how he laid that out to bother to go into it, because it would take me a long time. And who cares what I think anyway about what Jamie Wheal writes? He's a word salad smith, for fuck's sake. He's earned the right to be listened to, and he's memorized his deck for a long time now, so he can speak trippingly about his brilliant understanding of the way things work. And most of us can't, because it's not our job, it's not our business, it's not how we make money and become well known in certain circles, certain kind of elite circles, one might even say. But anyway, how do we motivate people to actually do something? So you have your Game B guy or anybody, your Zeitgeist guy or whatever, and you have your chapters, and people get together, DM 25, and you talk and talk and talk. Does anyone actually go out and say, well, I'm going to found a village, we're going to have cobblers and dressmakers and well diggers and carpenters and stonemasons and gig economy people and people coding and whatnot, and we're going to have our cryptocurrency and our own blockchain run by mini fusion reactors and windmills and solar panels that were all sustainably built through sustainable supply chains, blah, blah, blah. Right now we're just working on monetizing Ukraine so the big hedge funds can buy all the property there and make a killing for people with shares and bonds, people with a portfolio. Not for you, my friend, not for you. And then they're openly talking about all the lithium in Siberia. So obviously we have to destroy Russia. And also America needs to destroy China because they have more people and they might have more data. And maybe even the quality of the data they generate is better than ours, because ours is generated in arguably a really dumbass way. And everybody's a streamer now. So you sit in front of a camera 8 hours doing nothing. And that's how you relate to people and the world. I mean, there are lots of problems, and Jamie mentioned some in this piece he recently put up on Substack, but it's deeper and more complex than anyone can treat in a blog post, obviously. And even understanding it doesn't do me much good or you much good. Or having all the gurus that you can watch on all the podcasts and the vodcasts and the video YouTube channels can't really help much. It is a kind of a virtue signaling game that we're caught up in, and we can't help it because we're trying to figure out how things work so we can do the right thing. But at the end of the day, we don't do anything. It's just hard to work with people. And I can imagine just how weird it would be to be on one of Jamie's Colorado excursions or whatever and be trapped in this thing where I had to learn leadership from the gurus, the real players, and try to relate as just a normal human being in the context of those activities we're sharing, while at the same time having to kowtow and feel what's my place here? Can I really be myself, or do I have to follow the lead of the wise ones in this clique, It always boils down to something like that. So you're at the Mooney cult in Northern California, and you say, I'm going to take my shirt off and swim in the river because I think you all are mature enough to see my bare naked chest. And you're not all going to just go sexually apeshit crazy when you see all of this, it's like, don't let these normal people get out of hand. They're gonna act like they fucking know something. And they're here to learn from the masters. It would be great if we could just work within our communities to actually get something done. I'm not. If I go out and try to rustle up a group of people to do something, I'm going to run into the same problems. Establishing a group, leadership structure, a project everybody wants to do, ways of doing it. What do you want? Why do you want it? How are you going to get there? How are you going to do everything? Structures and systems. So I do think we're all caught up in this. And the obligate thing is just what happens when there's no more water. And then it is too late. Not to think that anybody in government in the United States has an imagination. They're all sellouts. I'm sorry to say. I mean, to play that game, to be in their position, you have to sell out. That's the whole way everything's structured and put together. That's the bottom line ethic of it all, is profits first. So even if you have all of these wonderful intentions and good ideas, you're unable to do anything. And then you would have to go to the people if you're in a democracy, and the people would have to sort it out themselves. And nobody's going to talk about socialism or any other form of doing things, because they just won't. They can't imagine it. They've never tried it. So we're stuck. But yeah, it's getting very hard for me, even though I appreciate the work that these people do and their way of thinking and viewing the world and the way they articulate things. And some of the authors that I read are incredibly great writers, and I empathize and connect with them, resonate and all that. But, this isn't funny. And these people who act like they know what they're doing, what are they fucking doing, actually? And we can publish papers, and maybe 1,000 or 2,000 or 5,000 geeks like me will actually read the paper. Like, I read what Putin says in his addresses to the world or to his own government or whatever. Just like I read what people put in the mouth of Donald Trump. And, you can read a science paper if you want to understand virology. And if you don't understand it because you don't know what the periodic table is, and you don't understand p-hacking or statistics or how science works at all, you can always find ways to learn about it to such a degree that you can at least understand the abstract and the conclusion of the study. And you can probably go in there and find out whether the authors of the paper, the scientific paper, are legit. You can still determine what's true and what's false.
We've got to do it. We just got to.
Governor, may I disturb you for a moment, sir?
Yeah, what is it?
Yes, if you will just sign this, Governor, right here.
Yes. What the hell is it?
Well, under the provisions of this bill, we would snatch 200,000 acres of Indian territory, which we have deemed unsafe for their use at this time. They're such children.
200,000 acres? 200,000 acres? What'll it cost, man? What'll it cost?
A box of these.
Are you crazy? They'll never go for it. And then again, they might. Little red devils, they love toys. May I try one?
Please do, sir.
Thank you. These things are defective.
Right as usual, sir.
Show off.
Yes, sir. Just sign this, sir, right here.
Oh, okay, give us a hand here.
All right, sir.
Work, 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 work. Hello, boys. Have a good night's rest. I missed you.
Just one more bill for you to sign, sir.
What the hell is this?
This is the bill that will convert the State Hospital for the Insane into the William J. Lepedemain Memorial Gambling Casino for the Insane.
Gentlemen, this bill will be a giant step forward in the treatment of the insane gambler.
Yes, bravo. Beautifully put, sir.
Thank you, Hetty, thank you.
It's not Hetty, it's Headley Lamar.
The hell are you worried about? This is 1874. You'll be able to sue her.
Just sign right here, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, help me in with this. Help me in with this.
Think of your secretary.
That's a very good suggestion.
Yes, all right.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, is that it? Anything else?
Just this urgent telegram from Rockridge that arrived last Friday.
Last Friday. Read it. You wild bitch.
Sheriff murdered, church meeting bombed, reign of terror must cease. Send your sheriff immediately.
Holy underwear! Sheriff murdered? Innocent women and children blown to bits? We've got to protect our phony baloney job, gentlemen. We must do something about this immediately. Harumph. I didn't get a harumph out of that guy.
Give the governor harumph. Harumph!
You watch your ass.
Gentlemen, please rest your sphincters.
Well put.
Thank you very much, sir. As Attorney General, I can assure you that a suitable sheriff will be found to restore the peace in Rock Ridge. Meeting is adjourned. Oh, I am sorry, sir. I didn't mean to overstep my bounds. You say that.
What?
Meeting is adjourned.
It is?
No, you say that, Governor.
What?
Meeting is adjourned.
It is?
Here, play around with this for a while.
Oh,
No,
thank you, Hetty.
No, it's Headley.
It is? Why don't you give these out to some of the boys in lieu of pay? Here you go, Frankie, Johnny, Patsy, Kelly, and one for Miss Stein, my beloved secretary. Play with these, boys, in lieu of other things. This friggin' thing is warped. Why do I always get a warped one?
You can still, there is criteria available to judge these things, whether you want to call them bullshit detector kits or critical thinking skills or anything else. We can learn those things and we can inform ourselves well, but having the time and energy and inclination to do so is often not there for many people. Other things must be done, like surviving, paying the rent, paying the loan on the truck, or finding daycare or whatever. And you probably aren't clever enough to figure out how to serve the powers that be to such a degree, to find that niche market where you can suck money from the players and then give back a little bit with your wisdom. And of course, everybody has to make a living, and I don't begrudge anybody that. If Schmachtenberger or Nate Higgins become rich, I'll be happy for them. I don't think they want to be billionaires, but if they had an extra $1 million or so, I wouldn't begrudge them that, because they'd probably use it in good ways, and they'd probably invest it well. But many people don't, and it's not a matter of philanthropy or effective altruism or anything like that. It's just like some people just have it in their heart and soul and mind that, they understand what's really required to be happy and to be a good person, and they know that it's not all money or whatever, attention or fame. So I love Jamie, but I also, he irks me. He rubs me the wrong way sometimes. So I'm sympathetic when I listen to the Decoding the Guru kids taking the piss out of these people. But I also, they rub me the wrong way too, But it's okay. Everyone's going to be annoying to you on some level, and they're going to be endearing on other levels. We have to accept each other's flaws and find some value in their flaws. And he mentions this, we have to come together and all that stuff. blah, blah, blah. How many times have I heard this over the last 20 years? And, the decoding gurus types make jokes about people who read books, So I have a book list, so now I'm supposed to be ashamed of that? My book list on my website is just virtue signaling. I just want you to think I'm smart. No, because I read a book, I forget almost all of it the next week, and I'm reading another one, So it's not like they do me any good. I'm not saving the world because I've read a lot of books. I just read them because I'm curious, and I think it's a good way to spend your time rather than watching cable news, right? So if you had a choice between watching 4 hours of Joe Rogan interviewing an idiot and reading a good book, I would say read the good book. I mean, be quiet and within yourself and interact with the author's mind and heart and inspiration and information and blah, 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 the storytelling, and fill in the gaps. It's a good way to be. I go out and about and do things, and often I do it by myself. And it just makes the conversations I have and the activities I have with other people that much more sweet and wonderful, because now I'm sharing my time with human beings, and I love that. But I also know that it's good to just be able to be me within myself. And I'm getting old, and I have to face the fact that there may come a time when I have to decide that it's not worth it anymore. I'm not talking about suicidal ideation or anything, but we have choices about how to live. And I don't know how long I'm going to even be able to use my brain. I'm not sick right now, or I don't think I am, but I'm old. I'm getting cognitive and physical decline. I'm just not going to last forever. So every minute of vitality I can squeeze out of this poor old sack of meat is going to be treasured and appreciated. The other day, I sent a friend a video for his birthday, recollecting some good times we've had over the last 40 years or so. And he took the time to call me back and express his appreciation for that, and how important it is to keep in touch with and value your friendships, because they're so few and far between. And I thought that was sweet, and that was more of a gift than the gift I gave him. And so when you start treating each other like valued family members or members of a community, and understand their real worth as human beings, not as workers, not as something to extract value from for your own wealth and power, but just as human beings, then how can you sit and think that this thing going on in Ukraine and Gaza, there's any excuse for it? I wrote a piece, where are all the peacemakers? And I'm serious. Where the hell are they, the diplomats and the peacemakers? We don't train people to do that. So the conversation's starting to bug me, and it's ironic because I'm sitting here talking to a video lens right now, into a microphone, reading somebody else's blog post and complaining about it. And here I am, having the conversation with you, 2 or 3 people who are going to watch this thing, because I need to get it out. I need to express myself. And maybe I'm not going to write a play or a book or a poem today. I'm going to talk to this video camera. Maybe it's too easy. It's a cop-out. But it's not funny. I don't think it's too cool that the city on the hill is more like a Sisyphean nightmare where he's rolling a barrel of laughs up the hill to the city on the hill every single day just to watch it roll back down the hill and crash. It is absurd. It's Ionesco-esque theater of the absurd. And it's not funny. It isn't funny. I love a good sense of humor, and I like ironic humor. I'm a bit of a cynic. But taking things seriously would mean that we'd go out and work within our community to boot the psychopaths out of power, to get rid of them all. First of all, we'd have to understand how to judge that. You know, who's dark triad and who isn't. And most of them are. We'd have to understand how our system programs us to be like that in the first place. And we have to recognize it in ourselves. We have to interrogate ourselves and be self-reflective and self-aware as well. Well, you can go do one of Jamie's flow genome things, his excursions, if you have the money and the time. And, you know, good for you. Now take that good energy and information and leadership, those leadership skills and thinking skills to your community, your company, whatever. That's how it's supposed to work, right? But then you'd have to design a system and structures that were totally different from what we have now in order for things to scale globally to the point where we could live differently and more sustainably, which would require that we all take a haircut, that we consume less and all that. But blah, blah, blah. Everybody knows, right? Everybody knows. But unfortunately, when you look at the streaming platforms or whatever, you see that, you know, people are frustrated, like Jamie's alluding to, but most of us just don't know what the heck's going on. And few of us, very few of us in the world read Jamie Wheal. You know, I mean, are you're really going to go talk to the Berbers and people in Gambia, Senegal, people in Lithuania? Of course, Nate Hagens has some followers in South Korea and whatnot. There are like-minded people who are concerned about these things all over the world. Trick is, how do we get all of these people to do small-scale things in their community to grow awareness and to develop ways of life, ways of being in community and living sustainably together that will work, you know, while at the same time curing some of the ills that we're suffering. I mean, the ocean is sick right now. It's fucked up, and we fucked it. And the atmosphere is the same, and we fucked it. Our system, our belief system, our ideologies, you know, all of it, our political philosophy, fucked it. You can go back and read all the ancient Stoics and get all the wisdom you need for the world, in the world. And you can upgrade and update that, a la Massimo Pigliucci. And that would help a lot if people read those books and thought like that. But we're still busy fucking everything. We're programmed and built and educated to fuck it all up. So yeah, I appreciate what Jamie's saying here, and I want you to read this article. He's always worth reading, but then when I watch him on one of these YouTube things, it's just so fucking, it irks me. I think he'd understand. It's kind of unavoidable that it's irksome. And it's nothing personal against Jamie Wheal, and he doesn't give a fuck what I think, but, you know, I love Stephen Colbert, and I love comedians, and I love to laugh, but they're not going to help us. I mean, it feels good for a minute, just like I want to go out and fucking drink 2 bottles of really good Portuguese wine right now, and then go to sleep. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take a bike ride, hit the gym, have a shower, and go back to writing after I make this video. What the fuck am I doing? I must be retired. I've got way too much time. And my friends just sailed down to Portugal from England, and they just birthed in Nazaré, so I'm going to cycle down there and say hi to these sailors, you know, high net worth people who can afford to cruise around for months at a time. So yeah, it's hard not to be hypocritical when you're like in my position, but we need to recognize that our hypocrisy, the fact that we don't do enough, and the fact that the conversation isn't going to fix it. It's just one tiny element of it. The books aren't going to help, the poems, the songs, the concerts, the Live Aid, having a good, healthy sense of humor. Yeah, we're all going to die, that's a fact. And our species might go extinct this century. Who gives a fuck, right? I mean, when I'm dead, right? And who's going to miss me? I have no idea. But some of us human beings seem to care that the life on Earth is really valuable and it should be taken care of and revered and sustained. And we should be working towards that. But I want a shiny car, man. I want my lithium for my batteries, for my Toyota electric vehicle, so I can drive around the Iberian Peninsula, gawking at all the Roman leftover architectural bits and pieces and all the lovely little cities, and have some fresh tuna, not too much of it because it's got all that pollution in it, but every once in a while some nice fresh Mediterranean tuna and whatever. Enjoy my privilege at having been born at a certain time in a certain place and all that. All the blind watchmaker shit. Anyway, I'm going to stop now because fuck, I'm not a word salad smith like Jamie Wheel. So I should shut the fuck up. Bullion T out.